Only 48 hours and we start this new walk. This is a spiritual walk around the Sardinia island. This is completely wild, which means I don't have electricity. And this is a big problem because the only maps I have are inside my phone. If the phone dies, I'm completely lost for a week, which is a bad thing. The only way I could charge the phone is using the fire and the water. I'm not joking, I can take the heat from the fire and turn it into energy to store and charge it again. So let's do it. I only have 48 hours, so I can just recycle the things I have in my shop. Let's move on and see how it comes out. You know, I love to recycle, and I'm so lucky I just found next to the garbage this, that is a camping fridge or a car fridge. This is a vintage one, which means it's much easier to take it apart. There are screws all around, so we can see what's inside. We are searching for the heat pump that is inside. Even modern fridge, car fridge or camping fridge works with the same technology, so don't worry, you can use a very modern one. And you can see that on the outside we have a fan that cools down this huge heatsink, and in the inside we have the opposite. We have this stainless steel plate that gets extremely cold. Basically this fridge works this way. There is a heat pump in the inside, and every time we apply electricity to it, one side gets extremely hot and the other side gets extremely cold. But we will see this better right now. The heatsink gets hot, and on the other side this very thick aluminum plate gets extremely cold. The mass of this part on the right is so big because it has to store cold energy so that it can extract much easier the heat from the inside. But the real magic happened between the two components. You can see this flat black component is this. This is a Peltier module. Every time we apply 12 volt to it, one side gets hot and on the other side gets cold. But the interesting thing happens if we apply cold to one side and heat on the other side. This will start to produce electricity. Just as a solar panel can produce energy using the light of the sun, this can produce energy just between the difference of the temperature on the two sides. So let's start modify this stainless steel container. The idea is to flatten just one side and to start a fire inside of it. So I need to have a very flat surface, so for me it's much easier to connect the aluminum component with this mount earlier. There are 4 holes, so with a drill I can replicate them on the stainless steel part, and it's very easy. The surface is very thin, so it took me only a couple seconds to replicate everything. So I saved the original screws, so it's much easier to screw them back. I made a couple holes so that the screwdriver can fit inside, but this is not a bad idea because I need to start a fire, so the more holes there are, the better it is for the airflow. Talking about airflow, this uses the original fan to cool down the heatsink that gets extremely hot. This is a bad idea for me because I don't have electricity to cool it down, so I want to think a way to have a passive way to cool down the Peltier module. So I dismounted from some laptops these heatsinks. You can see that the Peltier module fits perfectly, and the idea is to modify it, maybe using like water to cool it down, some water that passes inside. So I just found this heatsink, and I took the stainless steel plate that I dismounted from the fridge earlier. I welded a couple tubes here, and you can see that this fits perfectly inside. Basically, I'm building myself a water-cooled block. The water can get inside, pass all on top of these aluminum things, and after sealing everything with some heat-resistant silicone, I have my water block. So we can mount everything. We have the Peltier module that is placed here like a sandwich between the hot part on the bottom and the cold part on the top. So we can install, of course, longer tubes so we can inject cold water inside the water blocks. And in this case, I choose a silicone tube that can stand heat without problems. And this also is a rubber tube with a small valve so that I can regulate the water flow. We also have to solve this big problem. Everything tries to fall down because the weight isn't centered. So I took from my kitchen this that was a fruit exposer so I can weld the base here. This is very important because we will start a fire inside of this container, and I don't want to let it fall and propagate the fire all around or maybe hurt myself. So I'm also connecting here a bracket, so I'm building like, you know, in the hospital you have a flebo that is like a water drop that
dispense a little bit of fluid, and basically we are replicating the same thing. I have a plexiglass container that is placed here on the top, and we can use the gravity force to drop some water inside the water cooling system. I also have this small valve so that we can regulate everything, and let me take here a multimeter so we can test how much voltage we are producing. Doesn't really matter how I connect these cables. If it's wrong, if we made the wrong connection, we are still producing voltage, but we can read the negative readings on the multimeter. So after starting the fire, everything starts to heat up, but we need to cool it down on the opposite side. Half a liter of water is placed inside this dispenser, and after opening a little bit the valve, we are starting to cool down the Peltier module on the other side. And now we are really producing electricity. We are right now producing 2 volts and goes up to 3 volts without problems, which is more than enough. I don't want to risk to burn my iPhone when I start to charge it, so I'm using this circuit board, couple of lithium batteries, and these stabilized 5-volt USB ports to make my everything. So I'm placing inside a laser cut box all the components, and we are ready. So with my bike, I just ride uphill for a couple kilometers. I live in Turin, next to the mountains, and I know this small river. There's a very nice spring uphill, and the water gets down very cold. I made by myself recycling an old Coca-Cola can and a PVC pipe, a small funnel. The idea is to collect this water and bring it into the water cooling system of my electric generator. So this will stay here stable, and I can take the other 10 or 15 meters of this PVC pipe. This is a very thin one, only 8 millimeters thick, but is more than enough for what I really need. We need just to cool down the water block, and consider that this is freezing cold water, will work for sure. So I keep my feet still inside this freezing cold water for other 15 meters, and after placing everything straight without restrictions, I hope I can have enough water flow. The gravity force will pull water from above to down, and I just need to start the flow sucking with my mouth. No leaves or insect gets inside my mouth, lucky for me, and the flow of the water is great. I just need to place this small tube inside the plexiglass container that will work like a reservoir, and I can use the valve to regulate how much water I want to bring inside the water cooling system. To start a fire, I just bring inside my pocket this very dry grass, because all around me you can see everything is completely wet, or there is a lot of moisture, so it's very difficult to start a fire. And also searching for wood is difficult, so the solution is just to take it from branches above me. So this is a very dry wood, and I can place it inside the container. The fire is high, and that's the reason why I also protected cables with these white sleeves. This is ceramic coated sleeves, so the fire doesn't distract the cables. The water flow is great, and we are ready to start to produce electricity. In the first minutes, nothing happens. The electronic doesn't really turn on, but you can see that the water flow inside the water block is great. The fire dimension is great. And after a couple minutes, the lithium batteries I place inside the black box start to collect electricity. And now the magic happens. We are really turning fire into electric energy. We are producing 4.95 volts, which is more than enough to charge my phone. So after connecting one of these USB ports to my iPhone, I just have to wait a couple seconds and it turns on. Finally, all this works great. That's amazing. I can use this phone everywhere, because if you think I can find water everywhere and sticks to burn them everywhere.
It's
That's
working.
great.
It was such a huge mess to turn on the fire over here. All the wood all around is completely wet. It's all full of moisture, so it's pretty complicated to turn on the fire. Lucky for me, I bring with me a little bit of oil to cook the food, so I have some oil drops on the wood, so I can start a fire much easier. And now we are basically taking the very cold water there is a cold spring up there, and the water is so cold that my feet are freezing right now. But this is a good thing, because the more cold water it is, the more temperature difference there is between the hot plate that is hot, that is heated from the fire, and the cold part that is cooled down from the water. So the higher the difference of the temperature it is, the more voltage we can produce, and this is a great thing. In this case, I install inside a couple of lithium batteries, which is great because this can accumulate power even if I'm not connected the phone, and once I connect the phone I have power completely. So basically it's like a power bank, but that is using fire and water from this stream. I love this project. Don't worry, there is something that you can buy on Amazon. You don't need to go all around this mess. This was just a teaching process, so you know basically how this works. There's something already on the market, and it's this thing. I love it, but there's a problem with it that doesn't use cold water. It basically uses an air fan to cool down the heating, the part that has to be cooled down, which means that it will absorb and consume much electricity. So isn't very efficient, but it works. So you find a link here if you need it. This, of course, I will use it in Sardinia this summer because I'm going to make a tour of the island. So this can be very handy. Of course, I'm not using it connected to a stream like this, but probably I will connect to the fountain and just use, instead of wood, some alcohol, which is much more controllable. And yeah, basically this is how it works. I hope you enjoyed the project. If you have any suggestion how I can improve the aesthetics of the project, let me know here in the comments below, and see you next week with another do-it-yourself tutorial. Ciao, ciao.